I think he could tell that, it wasn't just like, it was more than a hobby for me. And I think he maybe, not to speak for him, but I think maybe he respected, how I go about it and how I do it. And, luckily, like my mother-in-law and, Grandpa Mike and some of those guys were definitely, definitely helping vouch for me. And that certainly helps. But, yeah, he, I told him about the hunt this year and the, my whole plan. And he said that, he would bless my bow. And, that's something that, somebody who looks like me doesn't get that honor very often.
Yeah.
So it was really special to me. It meant a ton.
Robin Hood and Little John are walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other has to say.
Absolutely. So we got today we got Shawn Melland, our buddy on the Ruckless podcast. Me, Brian Trainer, and my brother Tyrel Bubba Trainer.
How we doing, guys? Good to see you, man.
That was his first word with Bubba. So
Bubba.
It was a bottle. He was a really fat baby.
Hey, sometimes things just stick, man.
Yeah. Just big
dark
old
skin,
chunky Indian.
roly-poly. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought he was going to be Lane Frost. That was his play when he was bull rider. We had a barrel we built out in the backyard. We all thought we were going to be bull riders when we were younger.
Yeah. Hey, there's still time. There's still time.
There it
is. I've ridden enough. We'll call them one. I rode one that looked like a bull, and I've ridden enough to know that I'm not a bull rider. Yeah, yeah. And it. Luckily, somebody snapped a picture of the one buck that I was still on.
You do have a sweet picture.
I got a really good picture of me as like I don't know. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, kicking up, and I look like I'm getting ready to ride, and a tenth of a second later, my ass was on the ground.
Great timing on the photo.
Thank God. Yeah, they know what they're doing. It's like that first head turn out of the chute, boom, buck. I'm holding on. I'm leaning back. I got the arm up. I got these beautiful blue chaps I borrowed from your uncle, Tyrel's uncle, and I look good. And then
chaps. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Full of dirt next. Yeah. Next. So so we got Shawn back in on the podcast today. Ruckless sponsored, Ruckless name. Now we made a little bit of a switch from front to center.
Yep.
For our 7 listeners, they'll get used to it. Yeah. So but Shawn, we got you back on to do a little after action report on a really, really successful, at least judging by pictures, it looked like a really successful archery bull elk hunt in Montana this year. Yeah,
went and executed the plan that we kind of discussed beforehand. It was it was awesome, epic year, and ended in the way that you kind of dream about it ending. So yeah man,
dude, tell me more. So walk me through. You had done a ton of scouting, just a ton, and walk me through that. You had you specifically picked out this bull as your A1 bull. Kind of tell me what your head was like going into that, and what your approach is going to be going into after all the work you've done. 'Cause you've done so much work, and you so deserve all the success you've got this year. How did it start out?
Well, I mean, yeah, I appreciate that. I did put a ton of work in. Scouted, on foot and behind the glass a ton. Several different trips on that. Flew my whole unit in a plane. Scouted it all from the air. And historically have some years in that area as well. So combined, I mean, a lot of experience and a lot of time spent trying to put a plan together. I'll tell you, over the summer, found a ton of really big bulls. I can't say for sure. The bull I ended up killing, I think I did see him at one point, and I've got some video of him. I'm not 100% sure. It was early. I think it might be the same one. I'm not positive, but generally I found a large number of big bulls in the category that I was interested in. Like my number one bull, the one that I was most excited about, he, man, I had him in just a beautiful place like 2 weeks before season. And I knew there was a chance that a good chance that he wouldn't be there. He was on public, way up in a, just kind of a awesome box canyon by himself, kind of doing his thing, what they do pre-rut, right? Staged up, kind of hanging out, doing what old bulls do, and just in an absolute banger spot. And I knew that he would likely leave before the season opened. Where he would go, I wasn't sure. And man, I ended up going out like the week before season opened, so it was like end of August, right? So August 29th or something like that. I went out, and I refound him 9 miles away, and he had like 100 cows with him, and he was like way on private land that I don't have any access to.
Yeah.
And so I knew at that point, I'm like, I knew he was pretty much out of the game until later on in the season when he potentially started to leave that herd and cruise around to look for some other cows to breed. And even after that, I knew that he would end up likely back in that same box canyon, after, post rut to go hang out and kind of refuel and regather after the rut. So I knew there was still potential to go after him, but like kind of during the meat of the hunt season, I knew he was kind of out of the picture. So, aside from him, there wasn't any one bull that was like so unique that I wanted to really focus on. So it was really about just getting in the mix and finding something that checked all the boxes for me, which is just, big, old, and heavy. That's pretty much the standard. So.
Yeah, when you have a bull, I've heard a lot of guys say like if they're herded up like that and they've got 100 cows with them, if you see that big bull, do you still pursue him with that big herd of cows? I mean, I would assume yes, but how do you, man? I mean, it's so hard.
It's hard. I mean, it's a good problem to have, and a lot of times what happens when they have that many cows is you get so many other bulls that move in. And it causes a bit of chaos. And so usually what I try to do is take advantage of that chaos. And when those bulls are moving in and they're mixing it up and it gets pretty wild in there, that's usually the times that I've been able to slide into like really big herds and be successful. I think maybe 2015, I killed a bull with 75 cows. He was standing right in the middle of them when I shot him.
No way.
I think I've killed a couple with more than 70 cows. And usually it's a situation like that where it's like mid-morning, they're moving towards their bedding area. A bunch of bulls get in the mix and it gets really rowdy, and you can kind of, use that chaos as a distraction. They're not necessarily focused on all the things they should be. And so you can kind of use that as your cover to slip in. And I've done that a few times, but man, it's tough, especially if they get like bedded down. I mean, you kind of have to have everything right to get in close enough. And I'll say too, just if you did find yourself in that situation, the best thing to do usually is just to stalk the nearest cow. You don't have to go stalk that bull in a herd of 100 elk. Just get to the closest cow and get in range of the nearest one. And if you can get there, then just stop and wait. And, eventually that bull, especially, early and throughout the rut, eventually they're going to get up and they're going to circle around and they're going to check those cows. And, you may end up getting an opportunity by doing that. But if you go try to crawl into the middle of them, pretty good chance you're going to get busted. So,
yeah. Have you noticed that when you do have like, I've had a couple experiences where when there are, say, 2 or 3 bulls in a herd, they're mixing it up, and the cows are sort of distracted as well by that action of the bulls. And so without knowing I was kind of doing that, I kind of accidentally was able to just stalk in on that and get kind of right in the middle of them, because I think the cows are so distracted by the bulls bugling at each other and they're pushing their cows and they're fighting, and then they're really not looking for you.
Yeah.
Whereas when they're all down there eating and their heads are poking up and looking for danger all the time, I actually, without knowing, I kind of accidentally stumbled in the middle of like 2 herds that were fighting, kind of pushing back against each other,
Yeah. I mean, that's a really great situation to be in. When they're all relaxed and they're just like feeding and chilling, their guards up, they're pretty hard to get into. But yeah, when there's when there's bulls in there mixing it up, it's definitely the shields are down a little bit. It's time to move. Like I learned a long time ago, once those big bulls start fighting, I mean, and the bull, I mean, you could damn near walk up and slap those things on the rear end while they're fighting. I mean, they don't care about anything else, the bulls. But like you said too, yeah, the cows, they get mixed up in the chaos as well, and it's just a good time where they kind of have their guard down a little bit.
Yep.
Plus, it's just fun as hell because it's like a wild time.
Absolutely,
It's chaos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a story on the bull that you did find, man. I mean, how many days in? Had you been looking? Had you passed up some other stuff? And I want to hear a little bit about that mentality of being able to. I've never passed up a bull. I've never, Shawn. I'll admit. Well, I guess we did in Utah, me and you. And
yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple.
God damn it, and I shouldn't have in hindsight, But so I've rarely passed up a bull. But walk me through that, brother. Just that mentality, because that takes a lot of willpower to say no to something there.
Yeah. No, it does. And, I think at this point for me, I know exactly what I'm looking for and what really gets me fired up. So that's part of it, but also like really understanding the area that I'm in and what the potential is in that area. You can't sit there and pass up bulls forever waiting for something that doesn't exist. Right. So one thing is like being educated on the area you're in, knowing what potentially is there or knowing exactly what's there, from scouting. Having that information is a big thing, to help me kind of be patient and pass up, some really incredible bulls that maybe just aren't quite to that category that I'm looking for and don't quite move the needle for me yet, or that I just want to see. I passed up one this year. He was under 55 yards for quite a while. Gave me multiple broadside shots. Just a bit. I mean, looked like he'd been doing shrugs. Just a big, massive body. Old, dominant bull. Like probably, maybe around the 350 range, but just an absolute stud. And man, like he was super cool and a bull that I would have loved to kill him, but I let him go for two reasons. One, he wasn't quite. I wanted kind of the next level up, and I knew it was there, and it was early on in the season. And then two, like I just thought, man, how cool could that bull potentially end up being? If he does, blow up a little more. I mean, he could end up being just a crazy mega. So he was like really long, all through his front end. Ones through threes were all really long. So sometimes I'm just like, man, I love these things. I love watching them. I think they're cool as hell, and I don't like need to kill one. I'm perfectly fine with eating a tag, and I know the area I'm in really well. So that kind of all like goes into that mentality of being able to pass them. I don't know how many I passed up for sure this year, but I'd have to go back and count. But it's quite a few. Definitely a couple good ones for sure. Off the top, but yeah, some amazing encounters, and sometimes too, like for me, it's just, especially like early to mid September, passing those bulls, it's like, man, I just want to keep hunting.
Yeah.
I want to keep experiencing those moments.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready for it to be over yet. So I think that goes into a lot of it.
And that's the hard part. We only have 4 weeks to do what we love doing so much, right? And it's just it's a weird relationship with a hobby, or for you, an obsession.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, right? It's like you look forward to it all year so much. It's like such a big deal to us. And then like kind of the pinnacle or like the success of it would be to get one, which ends it. So it's like a very strange dichotomy.
Yeah, you are a little bit sad once you pull that trigger. You kind of go, oh no, now I'm done.
Yeah, well, for me, it's usually like not right away, but usually like a couple days later. It's like a legitimate postseason depression hits.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you're like you're in this just magical place for a period of time, and then all of a sudden it's just like back to reality, and it's it's just one of those things you want it to keep on going.
I was doing that this morning, looking for just maybe a leftover rifle tag or something. Just give me an excuse to get out again. Like
Yeah. Yep.
mule deer tag or something. I just want to go be in the woods just a little longer before winter really sets in and it's over.
I know. Fall is just such an amazing time of year. You want to try to
Mhm. What
whatever
else
excuse you
do
can
you have
come up
anything
with.
else you do? Do you go out and like try and chase a mule deer down or anything else just to scratch the itch a little bit?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get out in the deer rut. We have a 6-week general deer season here in Montana. It opened last weekend, and it goes all the way through Thanksgiving. So it goes all the way through the rut, which is pretty cool. But like, it's a tough hunt because there are so many rifle hunters out there. I usually like to grab my bow and go out and try to find something gnarly. So I'm planning to do that here in November. Get out at least once or twice, and get after some rutting muleys with the bow and do some spot and stock. And then just waiting for my son to get done playing football. They're looking to make a playoff run, so we're just like we're hammered down on that, supporting that on Friday nights, and whenever they end up finishing up, he and I'll get a chance to get out, which I'm really looking forward to. But it's looking like there may not be a whole lot of time left in the season by the time they're done. They're having a pretty good run, so we'll take it.
Right?
Yeah.
You want them to run all the way through. How are they? What in Montana? What classification are they in?
So I think it's AA. It's the highest in Montana. And they locked up the 2 seed. They got a first round bye, so bye week this week, and then quarterfinals next week for the playoffs. So it's exciting time in the house here because we're obviously big football house. So excited for the boy and his team. They've had a really good year.
Any other sports right now, kids?
Yeah, soccer. Soccer's kind of wrapping up for the fall. They're pretty much always. They pretty much never stop. Soccer, the fall season ends and like winter training starts, and then our little guy will start basketball, and my oldest daughter will start hockey. So I mean, it's like pretty much never-ending sports around here.
Love it.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps them busy, keeps them out of trouble.
It's a good time too after the postseason archery season.
It keeps me and my wife out of trouble. We got every weekend we're on the go, so we have no time for messing around. So it's good.
Yep, absolutely, man. That's the same thing in our household. It stays really busy in that way. But dude, I distracted from the actual bull, right? So like just like you would with a buddy. Tell me the story, man.
Yeah, so I mean, basically the first I guess first week of the season, hunted with my buddy Brock a little bit, and then a little bit solo as well. For that first week, bunch of close encounters, passed up some really nice bulls, and then I had Jake coming in for the second week to help film and document for the movie that we're making
for Sorinex, right?
Yep. And it's funny, man, the day before he came in, and I told him, I'm like, look, if I get a chance at a giant, I'm not going to wait for you to get here. Like this is what I do. This is what I live for. Hopefully it all works out, but if it doesn't, I just have to wait till next year for that. And the day before he showed up, I crawled up on a freaking giant bull, made an awesome stock on him, and ended up putting a shot on him. There was kind of a weird, I guess, optical illusion on where he was. There was some branches that appeared to be over his back, but like upon further review, they were like halfway between me and him.
Yeah.
And so, the arc of the arrow contacted those. The arrow hit him, but I think it just like slapped him and just like, I don't know, bounced off or glanced him or something. But he never got him. Which, I mean, looking back, it's just like kind of funny how stuff like that works out. Obviously, I was disappointed at the time because I'm like, that was a great opportunity. Looking back the next day, looking at where the branch was and stuff, it was like, man, I probably shouldn't have took that shot, but I did. It looked it looked perfectly good from where I was at the time. So it was just one of those deals that makes bow hunting so hard, but yeah, so then week 2 went, the whole week was really tough. Basically just kind of your typical in the grind of bow hunting and not having a lot of success. We were getting in the mix a lot. I was finding big bulls and going after them, but like, man, it would just be like you'd get those last light, opportunities where it just didn't quite come together, and it was just like every time we zigged, they zagged, and it was just, it was a really challenging week. The days were long. There was not a lot of action during the days. They weren't as vocal the second week as they were the first week. It just got.
We were full moon that second week of season, weren't we?
Yeah, I think that's when it got full. It started going down that week, but it was basically full.
We're coming off a full. I think so. Yeah, we were coming off a full moon that week.
Yeah, and so, and I don't know that there's definitely something to that. I think too there is also like an urgency that these bulls will have to kind of like they're ready to get the rut going, but sometimes the cows just aren't there yet. Right. So like that first week, I think sometimes you get a lot of initial action where they're hitting wallows and they're pretty aggressively covering ground looking for hot cows, and they're vocal and they're like, amped up, and, there's kind of that initial wave. And I think that a lot of times what happens is that during that initial wave, they kind of figure out it's not happening yet. And so they kind of pull back a little bit that second week and then really allow the cows to start coming into heat, and then it really pops off. Right. So I think I've seen that a lot. At least that's kind of a theory I have anyway. And maybe it has to do something with the moon phases as well.
And I don't know. I don't have that wisdom. I just know that what we saw that second week was like, they just really didn't even start bugling until like damn near the sun is setting. And so it was like, we'd have all these last minute plays, right? Where it's like within an hour of the sunset, like, oh, there's a bugle. Finally, we've been sitting here all day, with not a peep. And then it's just, you're blowing and going, trying to make a play within, 30 minutes of shooting light kind of thing.
Yeah. And then too, like after that first week, I mean, how many hunters get out there that first week and really, bump them and bugle at them? And they've been exposed to like this insane amount of stimulus in week 1 that was not there prior. So I think there's just all those things I think factor into it. But yeah, going into week 3, the weather was really good. I guess to rewind a little bit, I stocked. So the bull I ended up killing, I had stocked in week 2. He had about, about 20 cows. He took them up to like a really cool, like totally timbered, like cone on the top of a timbered bench. So it was just a big, like flat plateau. And at the end of the plateau, there was like basically a cone, but fully timbered all the way around. Mm-hmm. And he would take the cows back up there in the morning. And that was like, he would take them there. I saw him run down into the meadows, scream at cows, and then like begging them to follow him up there. Like he was taking them there.
Yeah.
And I stalked him up there, and it was a windy day, a straight line wind, perfectly, set it up perfectly in our face. Stalked in there, got to like inside of 100, I think 90 of the cows, and was just going to wait and let things kind of happen. And man, got up there, and as soon as I got inside 100, I start feeling like the wind on the back of my pant legs on my calves.
Oh.
And basically what happened on that cone is it was kind of just like blowing circles around that cone, and you couldn't really get out of it. No matter where you went, it seemed like the wind was blowing at them. And we ended up busting them. They busted out of there, crossed the canyon, went up into another spot. They ended up stopping in the other spot, tried to stalk them up there again, but going up there, same thing. Like the winds were just super inconsistent. So ended up having to back out, and, didn't even know if he was there. And then sure enough, right at like last light, he took his cows right down off the mountain and stood out in the open and bugled at us. So he was there.
Yeah.
So we had to leave him there. And so fast forward to the next week. It was early in the week. I think it was maybe Monday or Tuesday. Early in the week, the temps had dropped. The wind was blowing. I mean, it was like overcast, just an unbelievably perfect day. September 22nd, like peak rut. I mean, it was like amazing. And that same bull took those same cows and did the same thing that he did the previous time I'd stalked him. And he took them up to that cone, that timbered cone on the plateau. And this time he had another like pretty good satellite bull with him, which I passed up like 3 times that morning. A lot of cool footage of that. But he took those things right. I mean, literally back to the same exact spot. And the wind was blowing so good that day. I'm like, there's no way, like, it's going to be perfect. So I went in I did the same thing. I went right back in after him. Wind was perfect. Everything's perfect. This time I got to like 70 and they were kind of working through the cows were kind of working through a little opening, a little meadow. And I'll be damned if that wind didn't start coming, right behind me into my calves on the back of my pant legs again. It was like unbelievable. I felt it right away and just started backing out, and they were already moving off. So they were taking, like, the same exact thing was unfolding that did the week before. So this time I had a pretty good idea what they were going to do. And so, I made a huge move. They ended up, crossing the canyon and kind of making an L shape to where they were going. And we just took a straight line and cut them off. And ended up getting ahead of them and, getting in just a really good spot with a little bit of cover. And they're coming basically right at us, bugling. Everything's good. Like we had successfully cut them off. The wind was in our favor. Basically a textbook situation.
Yeah.
And they kind of held up at like 30 yards with some cover in front of them. So no real shot. And there was an opening that they were going to walk into, hopefully, around like 55 yards. So I'd ranged that and kind of got ready to go. And then this satellite bull, actually a cow kind of strayed from the herd and walked off into the open. And, she was in range. And so I'm watching her, and the satellite bull kind of comes out of left field and just takes her and just like chases her off through the trees. And the big bull sees that, and he's like, he's not going to let that happen. So he goes to get her, comes chasing him. He ends up chasing this bull right by me. Like he's running full speed behind the satellite bull. The satellite bull is running full speed basically directly at me. I mean, was within feet of running me over. It ran right by me, just right by me. And like as the satellite is passing me, I'm focused on the big bull, and I drew back as the satellite was going by me.
Yeah.
And I get to full draw. The big bull hits the brakes, goes right back towards where his cows were. And at that point I was full draw. I figured he was under 30 yards, so just top pin, and I gave him a little squeak, just a little squeak to get his attention. And he did the old look back at me and just made a perfect shot, behind his entered way back. It was steep quarter, so it entered way back, like behind the last rib and in front of the hip, and it exited out the front shoulder. So I mean, it was just absolutely crushed. And it turned out epic. He went not all that far. Basically saw him tip over. And so at that point it's all the emotions and everything kind of piles on, after that. And it's just there's really nothing like that moment when it all comes together.
You had a buddy with you?
Jake was with me.
Okay. So you were able to get it on film?
He was filming. Yeah, he was right in my hip pocket. So he did an incredible job. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's going to be awesome to see then. When are they going to put that up? When do we get to see this?
Late January. I believe it's premiering at Winter Strong. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but that's
Awesome.
the plan. Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
So yeah, looking forward to it.
Winter
It was cool to document the entire process, right? Like the whole year, not just my process, but also like all the interesting people that, kind of just play a part in, how I prepare and who I look to for mentorship and coaching and stuff like that. So I think it's just, I think it's going to end up being a pretty cool deal. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. With the, I got a question. It was a post you posted, or about the guy, the medicine man, Pat.
Yeah.
And you had a post. He's kind of doing that ritual. Could we expand on him? And that just seemed awesome.
Yeah, man, what an incredible experience that was. So it was actually my sister-in-law, her wedding this summer. Her and her husband both have Native American heritage. My father-in-law as well, Native American heritage, along with my my grandfather-in-law, my kid's great grandfather. There's some pretty deep Native American heritage in my family from all of them, and so at their wedding, Pat's a medicine man, and he's a legit medicine man, right? And he was there to bless the wedding, and he did an incredible job of that. It was really powerful during the ceremony, super cool, like really cool thing to witness and be a part of, and afterwards. We were chopping it up and telling stories and talking about hunting and fishing and stuff like that. And I think in talking with him, he understood, how much it really meant to me, how much bow hunting means to me. I think he could tell that, it wasn't just like, it was more than a hobby for me. And I think he maybe, not to speak for him, but I think maybe he respected, how I go about it and how I do it. And, luckily, like my mother-in-law and, Grandpa Mike and some of those guys were definitely helping vouch for me. And that certainly helps. But, he, I told him about the hunt this year and my whole plan. And he said that, he would bless my bow, and, that's something that, somebody who looks like me doesn't get that honor very often.
Yeah.
So it was really special to me. It meant a ton. He explained to me, beforehand, their beliefs and, kind of how some of their beliefs changed, before the white man came. They thought that just, the mountain and where they lived and kind of their home range, they thought that was essentially the whole world. And all of a sudden, the white man came in and Western expansion started to encroach on everything that they were doing. And so they understood that there was a much bigger thing at play. But what didn't change for them is that, they believed that, God, put the mountain there for us. And it put he put the animals on the mountain for us to harvest and to give us strength and, to continue our life. And so that's a belief that it resonates with me, and I think all of us, right? I think that's something that, we can all relate to. No matter what kind of God you believe in, I think that's kind of true for everybody, right? So, just a super cool experience, and a tremendous honor, for him to do that, and. Yeah, I took my bow out to the range the next day, and it was like first shot was like 88 yards, and I felt a lot of pressure to let the arrow go. Right? I'm like, holy shit, this thing's blessed now. Like I felt like the pressure was on me now, But yeah, first arrow, at 88 yards couldn't have been more dead center. And I think ever since then, honestly, that was kind of a turning point in the summer for me, where I think after that it felt different. It felt a little heavier and a little more special, and it just felt almost meant to be. And I just really believed in what I was doing and believed in my process. And we shot most of the footage for the documentary before the hunt, knowing that we basically don't really have, maybe we don't have the story we want, or maybe we don't have the not necessarily the right ending, because, you know, failure is definitely a part of it, but like, obviously we wanted to be successful and have that be part of the ending. But, you know, it took a lot of belief, on my part and on everybody involved. All the people that participated were 100% believe that I was going to do it. And I think all that, like, collectively meant a lot to me. And, you know, we talk about hunting camp, talk about team sports, talk about the camaraderie, you know, whether it be your training partners, your hunting partners, teammates, you know, something that allows you to be better than you are on your own, right? Because it's not just about you. It's not just for you. It's also for everybody who supports you and believes in you, right? And so, you know, for me to be able to carry that with me this season, with, you know, all the people that I had believing that much in me to get it done, was like, it was like a superpower. It allowed me to perform better than I would be able to on my own.
That's so awesome,
dude. And it's a lonely pursuit, right? I mean, it is. It's essentially it's for sure solo. Even if you have your buddies out there, it's really on you to make those next steps, that next climb, that next ridge. And I know it's probably over talked about, you know, that can you get up that next ridge, and that's what you train for and all that. But it's nice to know you've got somebody in your corner, people rooting for you when you're doing something like that. That's pretty lonely otherwise, you know. And it's amazing at the same time, but it's it's a unique thing to be able to go out there and go like, I got people I'm carrying with me that have got my back.
Yeah, that's special. I think that belief is special because, you know, ultimately it's a lonely pursuit, and it's you know, it's an internal test. And those are the things you deal with, you know, day in and day out when you're out there and fighting those mental battles. And you got to have, you know, some resilience to get to the point where you can actually be successful. Sometimes it takes a lot of getting your teeth kicked in before you get to the point where you could actually be successful. And so there's a lot of resilience that has to take place there. And I think that, you know, having people that support you and believe in you is, for me at least, is a huge motivator in keeping me in the game, right? When all those adverse times come, and they're guaranteed to come. And, you know, as experienced as I am with the challenges of hunting these things, you know, I know that adversity is coming. I expect it to come. Mentally, I'm as prepared for it as you can be, and it's still extremely difficult. it still sucks, man. When you get knocked down like that, and you blow a stock or you make a mistake, it takes so much to get to that point. And if it doesn't come together, you just feel like, how the hell am I ever going to get back to that point again? You know, and you understand that with these really big bulls, you may only get one opportunity a year, you know, if you do it all right. And so if you get one and you blow it, it's just like, you know, it seems like it's just such a difficult thing to persevere through.
Yeah.
Mentally. And yeah, I just think, you know, going back to the Doc Spurgeon quote from, like, Doc Spurgeon was back at Youngstown State when Jim Tressel was coaching there for football. So this is back a long time ago, but, you know, Doc would come in and tell the team, all I ask is that you play better than you are. Right. And, you know, the players would be like, what do you mean? How can we play better than we are? And he said, well, it's about love. You know, when you love your teammates, you're going to play better than you ever could on your own, because that love is going to drive you to perform and to persevere and to be resilient, you know, beyond what you ever would on your own. And that's what a team is. And man, I just think that's a beautiful message. And it's for us, you know, alpha males and like the sport of football, or, you know, guys like us who are the way we are. You know, you throw around the word love, it kind of can be awkward at times. But I think, you know, when we as men, when we have our brothers in our corner, you know, believing in us, and our families believing in us. I mean, that is love. And you feel that love when you're out there trying to accomplish something difficult, and you feel that belief in it. It's something that fuels you and allows you to keep going when maybe if it was just you and you were truly on your own, maybe you wouldn't have what you needed to get through all that stuff. So I think it's pretty special.
Absolutely, man. And it's hard. It's there's times when I feel like a broken record when we're talking about hunting and just that brotherhood and those men that you can kind of look at and go like, dude, I love you, man. But my son, he asked me that question just about community. Like, I've got a lot of friends. I got lots of dudes that I love. And, I think he's seen that not every guy has that. Not everybody, really, not even a lot of people have that. And it's funny. I feel funny saying it, but just, dude, I owe so much of that just to this hunting community of people. And it's not even about the hunting. It's just having these brothers. Like, such a fun time of year where I have so many guys I'm getting a text from, just even it's like, hey, we're in bulls this morning. I mean, I got that this morning with two of his sons and just the celebration, the camaraderie that comes with it. I took a young guy out for his first rifle mule deer hunt Sunday and then Monday. So yesterday, the day before, and just getting to share that with him and just show him how much just connection you feel out there, and just having buddies that'll take you out. And he's like, man, I can't believe you did this for me. And I'm like, it's my favorite thing in the world. I mean, it's not because of the feeling, it's because of the community that we get out of this. And just even with the podcast, how many conversations have really, really lately, man, it's just like for Tyrel and I, we're sitting in here and so much more often it's circling back to two themes that I'm seeing. One of them is just love for your brothers, and just that community and the men that you get to spend time with. And the other one I'm really seeing a lot, and maybe it's just us steering the conversation, but we didn't do anything with you, but just this kind of spiritual connection to the animal and the woods that a lot of us are starting to feel and experience and going, man, like I'm really feeling this out here, this connection to, me and the animal choosing me, and just that relationship with this hunt and with the animals. And I had that yesterday. The kid I took out, he couldn't believe it because we were walking on the trail. We'd seen like 40 deer, 50 deer on Sunday, and just didn't quite get in on a buck that we wanted to shoot. Now, trust me, he shot a dink, and I'm sorry, Evan, but he knows it.
And I'm sorry, all due respect.
He knew it, and I told him, and he's never shot anything. I said, we're looking for any legal buck because we're not out here to shoot. We're not looking for antlers. Like, we're just looking for, this is a classroom. I told him, I was like, I'm gonna take you to my classroom. Like, I know we're gonna see deer. I know we'll have a successful hunt, more than likely. But just for him getting to experience that relationship. So we're walking down the trail. We got about 2.5, 3 miles in, seen does here and there. We hadn't seen a lot yesterday. On our way out, we stopped and I was like, man, I told him, I said, I think, that the animal chooses us. I firmly believe that, that's the relationship we have. If we're talking about even that Native American kind of, I got that from a Native American guy I didn't even really know. I just ran into him at a processor actually. And he said, yeah, he kind of walked me through it's not up to me as much. And the animal chooses us if we pay attention. And I told him, I said, we just need a little buck. We just need a little buck to choose you. And no shit, I took 10 more steps down the trail and I looked up and I was like, oh, there's a deer up there. I put my binos on him and it's like, it's a little buck. And I didn't even finish saying it. He's like, I'm shooting it, So I get him settled down back against a rock, tripod out for him, get the rifle in. And it was really cool. He was hunting with his grandma's 270. His grandma had given him her old 270. She'd shot a bunch of stuff with it. Has her name on it, Bev on the strap. And his grandpa has passed away. It's like the last 9 rounds his grandpa had ever loaded for this rifle. And so it was all these things for him, all these emotions kind of coming together for him in that moment. But we did end up, I got him settled in, tripod out. He shot the deer and it was good kill. But he just stopped after he got done. And he's like, I can't believe you just, we said, we just need a buck to choose you. And 2 minutes later, we look up on the hill and we hadn't seen a buck all morning. And it was just, that was the one for him. And that was his his experience there. But it's just those two things, man, just the brotherhood or the camaraderie, sisterhood, even with this hunting world. And I can't stop just singing the praises of what it does for the community. of men that choose to do it, because it's so hard for men to find a brotherhood, especially if you've gotten out of a sport and you were used to that, or like Tyrel getting out of the military. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could play a basketball league or something in the winter, but it's not the same. I mean, there's nothing else the same that you go, let's go out and suffer for 5-10 days on the side of a mountain, and we know we're going to get our asses kicked, like with certainty. Like, even if it's a success, our asses are going to be kicked and we're done with this thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard to ignore. It's hard to ignore all that. I mean, continuing to find things to do with your brothers that are competitive, challenging, continuing to pursue challenging things as a man. Post, everybody was, competitive at something at some point, right? And I think it's just really important for us to continue to find those things, for the rest of our lives. And that's one of the coolest things that I think, about hunting and about bow hunting. Some people like golf, stuff like that, but you can do it for the rest of your life, and so I think it's pretty hard to ignore the spiritual connection, the brotherhood, how special it all is, but giving us all something that we can relate to, and, keeping that group chat going with updates on who's in them and, what's going on. I mean, that's, it's pretty special.
It is. And you're right. You can do it forever. I was, and hopefully Bert's okay with me sharing this, but I was able to be, after his pops passed away last year, and I got lucky enough to go hunting with Bert and Wesley and a couple of other Bert's friends. And Wesley he wanted to spread some of Pop's asters at kind of his tree stand, his favorite stand, and was lucky enough to be there with him and just see the tears and the emotions, and just thinking that, Pops had set that tree stand the year before he passed away, and that his hunting brother went out there to spread the ashes and shed tears and just told him he loved him, and that memory that's there. And it's just, I just hope we're all lucky enough to have a buddy that will spread our ashes for us, at our favorite hillside or favorite tree stand, or, whatever it be for us. But it's special, and there's buy-in, right? You've got to be a guy that's willing to go do those hard things. And so there's sort of a, you got to put the chips on the table to get to earn that brotherhood, which is what makes it even more special, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to just say, I want to be part of that. It's like, all right, cool. Well, I'll see you in 8 months, get to work.
Man, I'll tell you this, when you go through a tough hunt with somebody, you trust them.
Yeah.
Or not to, right?
You're not welcome back, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to learn a lot about somebody when you go through a tough hunt with them. It's definitely one of the things that makes it really special. And it's definitely a good filter at times too.
It is a great filter. It's like that self-weeding garden I like to talk about.
Yeah.
Where it just, guys just won't show up anymore because they just know, like, I don't want to try and hang.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one. Shawn, something that hit me when we were talking a little bit was like, man, when did this switch flip for you? Right, we both have young men that we're raising. Tyrel does too, and you kind of watch them, and for your son that's playing football, it's probably already flipped, right? But you watch these young men, and I was just thinking about you, like, at what point did it turn on for you? Tell me kind of your growing up, man. Like, where, what was it? Day one, you came out of the womb ready to go, or what was that journey like for you growing up? That kind of led you to this, and probably first it led you to athletics, but what made you kind of fall in love with doing hard things?
Man, that's a good question. I think that my parents and my brother would probably tell you that I came out of the womb with a very competitive spirit and with a very stubborn mindset that I was just going to do whatever I said I was going to do, and my dad kind of laughs about that all the time. He said, like, from the time I was little, it wasn't like I want to do this or I want to do that. He said I was just very matter of fact, from even a child, that, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And then I would just go do it. And so I think some of that was just in me for whatever reason, probably part of my upbringing and part of my family and my roots that, I absorbed a lot of that, and it, made me who I am. But, I think too, there was, growing up, I grew up in a super small town, you know, internet started coming into play, like while I was in high school. Like we had dial up, and, but, basically middle of nowhere, and there's just not a lot of, the world was a huge place then,
Yeah.
now it seems so small because everything's at your fingertips whenever you want it. But
Was
then
it
for me,
where'd you
what's
grow
that?
up? Where did you grow up geographically?
Western North Dakota, a little town called Watford City out in the Badlands of Western North Dakota, pretty near the Montana border. So very Western North Dakota. Great community to grow up in. No stoplights, no fast food. Way more cattle than people in the county.
Yeah.
But like really great people. Salt of the earth type of people, hardworking. Farming, ranching, oil and gas type folks, and it was. I'm super grateful for the way I grew up. A lot of freedom. I was taking, gosh, at 9, 10 years old, I was taking crazy rips on the 4-wheeler, with a 22 or whatever, a slingshot or whatever weapon I could get my hands on. Breaking the 4-wheeler halfway there and having to repair it on my own to get home. And like you had a lot of freedom and a lot of independence. I was driving my grandpa's 3-speed F450, 29 miles. He would just tell me to stay along the creek and off the highway, like head to the river bottom. Just don't, I wasn't even old enough to drive. He would just let me take the truck and just stay off the highway, so like
Yep.
I think that was, I learned to be really resourceful and really independent with how I grew up. And, I think there was just something in me that always believed that, in spite of the fact that I didn't know anybody who, was a professional athlete, or like, I didn't know anybody who was just like a, super high achiever, like, on an Army Ranger or Navy SEAL or a, professional athlete or a big time anybody, and not to say that, a lot of the people that I grew up around were, very successful and amazing people, but within the community that we were in, but not, I didn't know anybody who had gone and done the things that you see people doing on TV. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a small town fallacy that happens with guys like me growing up in places where I grew up, where you assume that because of where you're at and because you only see these high performers on television, that they're just better than you. Like you assume that they're all better than you. Right.
Right.
And I wanted to find out if I didn't really believe that, and I wanted to find out. And so for me, it was like kind of a journey of just answering that question. And I wanted to work as hard as I possibly could at everything that I did and take it as far as I could take it. And, I didn't know if I was good enough to play in the NFL until I was in the NFL locker room and had, future Hall of Famers standing right next to me. That was like the first time that I was really like, oh shit, like I am good enough to make it here,
Yeah.
But it took that journey all the way. I mean, I didn't, nobody told me I was going to make it. Nobody, it was the long shot of all long shots just to make it to the locker room. Right.
Yeah.
And, but I think for me, it was just like, I always wanted to find out, I wanted to know, how far I could take it and how much I could get out of myself. And, being the first guy to do something, or because nobody else had done it that I knew, never really bothered me. I think if anything, it just motivated me. And then I think I kind of just took that mindset to, after athletics, when I picked up the bow and got back to this, it was kind of the same approach. It was like, I just wanted to go do it to the best of my ability and see what that looked like.
What was that career like? I mean, you played collegiately, and then
Yeah. So I went to I got one scholarship, small Division II school in North Dakota called University of Mary. Ended up being a great place for me. I met my wife there. Had some amazing coaches and teammates there. Had a really incredible career there. Left that place with, my name all over the record books and the stat sheet, right? And became the first player in that college to ever go to the NFL. And that story is a long one. It would probably take a whole nother podcast. Essentially, I basically made it there, and then got sent home, and then worked my way back over a period of basically a 2-year period of time after college. Worked my way back again, and then again had things kind of fall short with the NFL lockout happening and free agency ending. I was playing in the NFL or in the IFL the day the NFL locked out, so in the spring, and I had multiple teams, reaching out to sign me for the off season and get in camp and make another run at it. And I had a scout. I was driving the team bus because I was the oldest guy on the team. And in the IFL, there's not a lot of budget, so we have the team bus was a van, and so there's 3 vans. One's being driven by the head coach, one's being driven by the defensive coordinator, and the other one was being driven by me. And a scout from the 49ers had called me to tell me that the NFL was locking out that day, and that he was just like, "Hey man, we love what you're doing. We'd love to sign you, but we can't have any contact with you until this thing's over. So just wanted to give you a heads up." Okay. And which is a pretty huge bummer when that was the whole reason that I was there in the IFL playing, was to get more film and to get these guys to re-sign me. Mm-hmm. And, had got it all the way to that point. And then the NFL decides to lock out because the players and the owners couldn't come to a collective bargaining agreement. And that night in that game, I'd already had a couple sacks in the first half. Actually took out their first 2 quarterbacks. They had a wide receiver playing quarterback. I was just absolutely wrecking them, having a great game. And right before the end of the first half, I broke my leg. And so I broke my leg, and the NFL locked out on the same day. And that was man, that was the end of the road for me. Yeah. And it was tough. I still wanted to get back. After that, the lockout ended up going all the way through. I mean, they missed preseason. I don't know if you remember that back in 2011. I mean, it was crazy. No free agency all summer, no camps, nothing. So, by the time they picked back up, I mean, it wasn't just me. There was a ton of guys like me who were on the bubble that were going to get an opportunity that did not get an opportunity that year that they normally would. And so it ended there, and that was it. I had to move on and had a family to take care of. So, yeah. But looking back on it now, and the crazy thing, Brian, is for a long time, I was ashamed of that I didn't make it. You think about that. Think about where I came from and how far I made it. It's a pretty incredible story. I have that perspective now. Okay. But when I was in my 20s and even into my early 30s, man, I was embarrassed to walk around in public, thinking everybody'd be like, "Oh, that's the guy that didn't make it," Yep. And so it took a lot, and it took a lot of meeting to really kind of bring things around. I think it took a lot of the community and the brothers that I've met through bow hunting. Now all these incredible brothers that I have that come from high performing backgrounds like yourself and many others. We all can relate to, all of us have a story about how it ended, right? All of us have been through those times of trying to figure out what to do next. And, all of us have found hunting as a place to reconnect. And so I think, maybe that's one of the things that makes, this whole thing so special for us.
I absolutely agree, man. I think that's exactly, I mean, that's how I found it as well, right? I think that once you start setting goals that you know are like on the edge of impossible, um, you start to really crave that relationship with when your feet hit the ground in the morning, um, that there's something impossible on the other side of the curtain that you're chasing. And it's hard to let go of that. It's hard to let go of that. It's not drive. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I have the right word for that, where you've set something out there that you go like, I'm probably going to fail at this. But the reckoning with that on a daily basis, you get kind of addicted to it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You just go like, I need it to be so scary and so hard that I wake up in the morning going, I better tap into some next level, that other thing that is in us, that I think once you start to play with it and dabble with that, that you have in you, it's hard not to find something else, because it's like you don't get to find it unless something else pulls it out of you, right? And so I think that's what it is. What it was for me was going, I need something else that's going to be the catalyst for this other version of me that I know that is there. And you immediately at that age, you especially choose that physical piece, right? And so you go, what's going to be something that's just going to just kick my ass, that I'm
Yeah.
probably going to fail at on a daily basis or a yearly basis, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I think that especially and I didn't even know I was doing it when I thought I was retiring in 2012. I went out and bought a bow, and I thought to myself, I think archery, elk, Colorado public land, let's throw wilderness in the mix so that there's no cars or tires allowed. I have to use my own feet. And I didn't even know it. Like, it just kind of naturally, looking back, I'm like, you could have picked something easier to start with. You know what I mean? If you're going to get into the hobby. I didn't grow up. I mean, I grew up hunting rabbits and things with the bow. One of that was like my favorite thing to do as a little guy, was just take my bow out with the flashlight duct tape to it and, shoot rabbits. Right. Um, but yeah, I think subconsciously going, how can I stack the deck against myself enough to where I have to dig really deep to find that extra level, that person that's in there that I don't know yet, and I want to meet him, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't have the wisdom at the time to do that. Now I know that, and we do that with this, we do that with business or something else we're starting, going, what would be really, really, really hard? And not everybody has that, right? A lot of people go like, no, I'm really good with status quo. I don't think they have the awareness to go like, I don't care to meet that guy, but I really want to meet
Yeah.
him, and Tyrel's done a great job in his own world of like, he ran that 100-mile race this year. And I always think about that. Like, that's just not something I hate. I can't even believe I'm saying this. That's not something I'll ever do. I know at this
Yeah.
point, just with the body and the condition it's in, that's not something I'll ever do, but I would be really curious to meet that guy. I've thought about, how do I recreate something like 100-mile, where I go, I'm just going to ruck for 48 hours straight or something, where you just go, I just want to go so deep that I find those demons or whatever else is behind it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what hunting does for a lot of us, is it goes like, I mean, especially if you go out solo. Tyrel did that this year and found some parts of himself that
Yeah.
he didn't know existed. And it's not always that it's hard. It's like, it's just that moment that you're under, that pressure and the respect for the animal and the pressure in that moment too, that you find those things. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's that relationship with failure. That's some of my best journal entries from when I was training over those years. They're always me on an airplane after failing again. And the stuff, if I go back and read it now, I'm like, that's good shit.
Yeah.
All of my best stuff came after on the backside of failure. You're not really retrospective. You're not really thinking when you win, when you accomplish the thing, you don't really reflect on it. Go, where did I go wrong? What can I do better? How do I push harder? How do I find, like if we're talking about hunting again, it's like, how do I find 2% here and 2% there and 2%? Because it's always that way with me with throwing. It's like, okay, if I'm on the edge of being the best and the best in the world, or brushing up against those guys, it's like, all I need to find is a percent in the weight room and a percent in my mobility, a percent in my nutrition, and a percent technically. And if I can get 4% better, right, then that takes me to like this A++ level.
Yep.
And it's just that when you start to dig in your own self for that 1%, right?
Yeah, I think it's always intriguing for us to, imagine or pursue, what we feel may be the best of us, right? And if Tyrel wants to try to express that by running 100 miles, he's going to find that, and if you want to express that by doing something else, we can all find different ways to express it, especially like in the physical culture, right? There's all kinds of different ways to challenge yourself way beyond what your perceived limits would be, and to truly try to find, the best of you, what lies inside. And then also to be a part of a community with a whole bunch of other people who also feel that same way, and have had those huge failures, and who take after action notes like you did on the plane, and look back and review, and learn the lessons that you have from trying to do great things and failing, and having some successes too. I think all that together just builds a pretty special community that is relatable for us, and also allows us to keep learning and keep growing.
Yeah, and it's something where, as you were talking, I was thinking about just you'll turn 40 this year, and I'm definitely not saying I'm done, right? But I'm feeling at 45 now, kind of that question to like, what's next? One of the next guys we'll have on the podcast, he's 83, has shot 9 of the Big Ten game, all with a bow. And I'm really excited to kind of have that conversation with him around that transition in life, right? Because you're talking about wanting to, power clean 400 at your 40th birthday, which is insane. but at some point, right? Like I'll never max, like I'll quote unquote, I'll never max out again. I'll max out for a 45-year-old, but it'll never be what it just won't. Like I'm never going to squat 700 pounds.
Yeah. It's
at this
different
point.
now. Yeah.
I don't want to, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But it kind of like, it was funny. My head just went down that road of like, well, what's next for us? I hope to have, 25, 30 more really good Septembers out in the woods. But at some point you realize that like the physical body is going to quit doing what we wanted it to do. And we have to kind of reckon with that again, right? Mentally, and go, okay, well, how do I continue to learn? What's next? What's the 100-mile race then,
Yeah. I mean, I would love to, I'm excited to listen to that guy and see what he has to say, from an 83-year-old perspective of someone who's, really got after it, and, kind of what that next pursuit looks like. Because I do think that no matter what form it takes, I think it's important for us to always have something to chase. And I know for me personally, I'm always going to be chasing something until I'm in the ground. What form that takes and exactly how that looks, I know is going to evolve over time.
Yeah.
But I know there's always going to be something. And so anytime you can get that wisdom from somebody who's kind of been down that road ahead of you, man, that's something that we look forward to.
I think it's partly you start giving it back, right? I know that's a big piece for me, that desire to start to go, it's given me so much, whether it's whether it's the weight room or the woods. Like, how do I start to hand that down a little bit too? Right. And you've done an excellent job of that, but you start to give back. I think that's a big piece that I see is that really feels good is there is a time when we become the old dogs, and it's time for us to hand it off to the next guy, and encourage. And, my son, he said it the other day, he goes, I think I'm going to be taller than you someday. I said, I hope you're taller. I hope you're stronger. I hope you're more successful in business and in life. I hope, you know what I mean? I hope you beat me in everything you do. Like, I don't think they quite understand that it's like most of us fathers want to see our sons or our daughters far exceed anything we've ever done.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Absolutely. Right. And so that part is fun to start to see, and thank God for our kids, because it does give us an outlet for that, where we can go, hey, now it's a really natural place to go. I'm going to hand this down to you, whatever it is. Like, they might not take up the hunting the way you have or I have, but hopefully there's something that we can take that we've given, that we've learned, that we can give back. Right. And I think that's a big piece that's coming full circle with them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they can apply that mindset and that lifestyle to whatever it is that they're passionate about. Could be anything.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy thing to think about. And I hate letting it slip in, because it's like, you don't ever want the old man, you don't want to let him in. And I'm not that I'm old. It's just hard not to start to, I look in the camera here and I see
gray's looking a little old for you.
I see a lot of gray in there, and it takes 15 to 20 steps to start to walk normal in the morning. And, the weight room is, I definitely do not touch anything heavy in the mornings. I've learned that, like, because I just by habit, I have to lift in the morning, but it looks very much like rehab and mobility and maybe
Yeah.
some arm farm, you know what I mean? But I basically lift from like the navel up, and then evenings you can crush yourself. At this age, it's like, okay, now in the evenings I can crush the sled pulls, I can crush the deadlifts, I can start to pull heavy weight again.
Yeah.
But the morning is not a place for deadlifts for me at this point in life.
Yep. Got to get things lubricated first.
Yeah, but I'd have to add an extra hour. I have to get up at 4 instead of 5, and add an hour with just hot tub and sauna and ice tub and whatever crazy, routine.
Everything.
Everything.
Just
absolutely a gallon of water before I step in the weight room. So it's interesting, but yeah, man. So, dude, you got to feel good. The success coming off of this. How long did it take you after you shot that bull to go, okay, 2026 bull, let's start training again?
Yeah. Probably, honestly, I was rode a pretty good wave that week of, being on top of the world. And, that whole week was a lot of story time and connecting with everybody and kind of reliving it. And then, but the following Monday, for sure. And I already have the whole thing planned out for next year. I will say that it is probably going to be documented again. And the name Riverboat Gambler has been tossed around, and there will be water logistics. So I am excited about next year's adventure already.
Dude, I love it. We'll talk off camera. There's a couple spots that I've looked at in Montana that require a boat.
Yeah, that's off camera discussion.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to say what side of the state.
I just look. I've parachuted in. I've done everything that you could do pretty much on foot. I've surveyed from the air. Water logistics is one that I just haven't really tackled yet. And so I will say too, like this year I left this season with, this year was like a really patient year. It was really a mentally challenging test of patience, just because of the area I was hunting and how it's set up. It was way less adventure, way less physical, more mental. And so I left that really craving like an intense wild adventure. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind, saying, okay, it's time to attack the water and have a new adventure. So I'm looking forward to that.
Attacking the deck against yourself again. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're going to make it more difficult, right?
Yeah, more fun. More fun.
You already kind of answered it, but do you have any sort of like mental switch, like off season? Like, I know you're not stopping training physically, that kind of stuff, but is there ever like a and was it that week? Just kind of reflecting and.
Yeah, I think it was ingrained in me from football that, you get 24 hours to celebrate a victory. You get 24 hours to mourn a victory or mourn a loss. Either way, the next day, the process starts over and you begin to build toward whatever the next thing is. And that's just like hardwired into who I am. So that week I got more than 24 hours. Which was fantastic. I was able to, kind of ride the wave and the momentum of that, the enjoyment of that success. But as soon as that's over, I shift gears pretty quick, and the mode for planning, preparing, training, researching, everything just starts right away, and it's pretty much full speed all the way up until the next season starts. So, and I think I need that too, because there is I spoke about like the postseason depression that sets in. For me, that is a real thing. And so to give me something to focus on and something to chase, and something that inspires me and that I'm really passionate about to really dig into and sink my teeth into, that's super important. So it's just become a part of my process.
Right back into it.
Yep.
Are you like sitting here today? Are you as hungry as you were before, like into 26?
Oh, I couldn't imagine being more excited than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as excited and fired up for next year as you could possibly be.
Is that growing yearly?
I don't know. I think
you
it just takes different forms. I was looking. We had to do some redecorating because we're kind of running out of wall space. I got the European back, and I have these 8 giant bowls right now in my garage, and I was looking at them all, and I'm thinking like, man, every one of them is super unique and rare in their own way. They have their own unique adventure, their own unique story. They're all a different time in my life, they're all so different. Each one of them was like an incredible memory. And honestly, like it's true, like kind of the Tom Brady thing, like which ring's your favorite? My next one, like that's real for me. It's like the next adventure is really just what, you look back and you reflect on them, and it's pretty special to be able to have that. And the lessons that came from each of those seasons, and then the lessons, you look at them and you think of the years where there isn't one. There could be more if it wasn't for those years where we failed, and you think about those and the lessons that came from that. So I think it's really important to reflect on all that. But man, for me the juice is all where in the planning and the preparation and in the excitement for what's next. And I hope I never lose that.
Love it.
Absolutely. Have you ever pushed up against burnout? And you kind of answered to the question, but a little bit, like, tell me what that looks like, man. Like, have you ever pushed up against where you're like, man, I am burnt on a portion of the training or a portion of the preparation? Have you ever had to brush up against that at all?
Honestly, I've never really faced burnout, like true burnout, in anything that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
I've faced burnout with the business, burnout with, the industry, different things that, which I'm sure you could relate to. I've definitely hit burnout with that. And then, look at the amount of time and energy and you invest in something that it, maybe serves you financially, but you're not truly passionate about, stuff like that. Yeah. Big time burnout. But when it comes to the training, the hunting, the things that I'm passionate about, I love it every day, pretty much, and there's not that there's not bad days or, that I don't have days where I'm down. I definitely have those, definitely have low motivation days.
What do you do on that day, man? What do you do on the day where you're just like, I'm just feeling tired or burnt? The body just doesn't want to cooperate. You know what I mean? What do you do on those days?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you just, you go to work. I mean, you go back to the place that has always got you to where you want to go. And that's the work. And I think that's wisdom at my stage in life. I think maybe I just defaulted to that I don't know, just defaulted to that when I was younger. Luckily, I defaulted to that maybe more than other things that wouldn't have been as good for me. But I think now I understand that that's what you need on those days the most.
Right.
Getting back to the work is always gonna be what resets you and realigns you and gets you on track. And not that there's not I'm not saying there's not times to take breaks and stuff like that, but man, as best as I can, I usually try to plan those out. And
the break.
Yeah. And then you're just executing another plan, right? So it's still a victory. Like even a break is a win because you planned it. So I'll go crush, margs on the beach for a week and feel fantastic that I'm executing my plan.
I love that.
Yeah. So
trip though, man, is like, I haven't taken a lot of like extended vacations, but took one, like, I think we were in Mexico for like 12 days. And I still lift it. It's like my favorite part of like being on vacation is my son was teasing me once. We like got to a hotel and he like does his impression to me. He's like, "Where's the weight room at?" You know.
Yeah.
But also, like, I love that he sees that.
Hell
But
yeah.
dude, I had like crazy gains, and I was like, I was drinking whatever I wanted, kind of eating whatever I wanted. But I think it was because it was like that zero stress. The
Yeah.
body was having nothing but positive inputs on it. And I just came back and I was like, dude, I leaned out a bunch, even though I was eating kind of whatever I wanted, and really just sitting around and lifting. And I guess I played a ton of sand volleyball, um, but it just, it was
Big
funny
man
to
out
see.
there moving sand volleyball.
Oh, dude, it was a blast. But it's something that was funny about that, just that no stress. You know what I mean? Letting the body just kind of relax and heal. But also those inputs of just training your ass off during the day. I came back like, God dang, man, that was actually a sweet little training camp, even though it was supposed to just be a break from everything.
Yeah.
But I think that those, unfortunately, those work inputs, the stress of trying to run a company or a couple companies or whatever you're doing, it definitely fights against those goals at times. And that's where I've seen the burnout. Like you said, like if all I had to do was just train and hunt and do those things, obviously there's no room for burnout there. I can't imagine, you know, uh, ever getting sick of that. But it is the inputs of the business side and the rest of life that plays in, where when you're trying to spin too many plates at one time, that's where it gets a little tough. And
Yeah.
identifying those ones that do wear you out. I don't know if you have this, but it was actually the year kind of hunting that area that I know you've hunted with. We've both sort of hunted that area a little bit. And I was in there solo for 5 days, 6 days. And I remember hiking out just thinking like, I do not want to plug back in, man. You know?
Yeah.
And in that great little separation from realizing those things that you're plugged into that you don't really want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you consciously go, am I going to choose to allow that thing or those people to have access to me when I get back? Because it feels so good not to. But I don't know, man. I think it'd be cool to hear, like, how do you identify those things that are, how do you balance, I guess, that the things that you do that you kind of have to do because you're a provider. But those tend to be some of those things that can burn you out a little bit. And identifying those, how do you eliminate those, Shawn? I mean, because I know by watching you that you have like a very specific kind of priority list. And we talked about this last time. You said no to a lot of things in life, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't tolerate the bullshit. But there's some necessary bullshit too that you have to tolerate sometimes. And how do you balance that out with going like, I still have to do my job over here, right? Despite wanting to just be hunting and lifting all the time. But
Yeah. And look, I don't know that I have, necessarily have the answer to that. But I'll tell you one thing that I've learned when I go and hunt the way I do, and like you said, you spend all that time, a lot of time alone, a lot of time reflecting, a lot of time really getting a great perspective on what really matters to you, what's important to you, what's not important, who's not important, who you don't want to deal with anymore, stuff like that. You come away from those hunts with a pretty clear, for sure, like, shit, I do not want to go back to do that.
yeah.
Or whatever, apply that to whatever it is for you. For me, what I've tried to do with that is say, okay, if I understand that about myself, then it's on me to find a way to change that situation. Or, and I've made big changes in my life, within the last few years, to try to kind of narrow that focus down and to try to trim some of that fat and to try to create a life that is more about what I really want it to be and less dealing with, a bunch of stuff that, I'd rather not. And look, man, it's when you're a provider and people are dependent on you, you're going to have to do things you don't want to do. I think that's just the reality of life. And if you figure out a way to just do the things that you love and you're passionate about and you can still take care of your family, then you have figured it out. Like that is the plan. On that note, I will tell you, I have been working on something that is in that lane for me. And it's something that I'm super excited about. It involves some fantastic coaches and human beings that as well as I do, that we're teaming up on a project that I'm not going to say too much about, other than I'll say it's going to be really cool, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. And it's in the lane that I'm very passionate about. And that the guys that are participating with me are also very passionate about and experts at. So I think if you just stick with me for a while, that I won't have to be so vague about that. I'll be pretty soon. But
we'll stick with you, bud. We're all in.
there's what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to find that path as well, right?
Yeah.
To where I can pursue more the things that I'm passionate about with the people who I trust and who I want to be spending time with. If you think about it, like, looking back at my work career, spent a ton of time away from home, spent a ton of time, working with folks that, a lot of great folks and also a lot of folks that really didn't deserve my time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look back and reflect on that now, you think, man, I was taking care of my family, but I don't know if that was really worth it. Missed a lot of time for what, and so I think, for me, it's really trying to engineer a life that if you're going to be away from your family, it's going to be pursuing something that you're really passionate about. And it's going to be something that gives back and that you can help others as well. And it's going to be working with people you trust. And it's going to be, checking all those types of boxes and something that you can take your family and the people close to you with you along for the ride. And so that's kind of where my focus is now at this point in my life. And I think that, you can thank the hunting and the training and the perspective that we get from that.
Yeah.
That kind of, narrows our focus and allows us to kind of, allow yourself to think about ways that you can make changes that you want to make, and use your expertise and your passion and point it somewhere that, maybe you could do something with. I think we live in a time now that's probably more possible than it ever has been.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it's, and it takes time though. Like you have to go through the shit a little bit. You have to do the things that we only know what we know. So you look at career wise and I think you ended up in the oil and gas world because that's what you knew.
Yeah.
That's what you saw. Right. And we all do that. Like Tyrel and I grew up swinging a hammer. So that's what we did when we were younger, right? You know what you know, and your toolbox has only got so many tools on it when you're younger. But if you choose to learn and educate and push, then the more tools you put in the toolbox, the more options you give yourself for what kind of life you can build later on. But I think for those young guys, like, I think they want to skip a lot of that. And I think there's not a lot of skipping it. Like you've got to eat shit for a little while,
Yeah.
and it's hard because it usually lands when your kids are younger. Right. And you do miss out on some things as a father, sometimes, especially if you choose to provide in a way that you go, hey, I'm going to put it on my back and I'm going to provide by just doing and learning and creating. But I think that if you do that long enough and you think about what you're doing and you look forward, you can actually create out of all that work. You get a tool set you can use to create what you want to create in life, like you are here.
I think I believe that. I would just say this. Look, I'm about to turn 40. I've never had my dream job. Okay. Like that's not happened yet. So, and I hope that I'm working towards that, right? Whatever form that takes, I hope that I'm working towards that. But just for perspective for any, younger guys, it's like, yeah, man, like you're going to have to do more than likely a whole bunch of shit that you don't want to do for a really long time. But like you said, in that process, make sure you're somebody who's building the skills and building a competitive character and, building yourself into the type of person who's going to be capable of really pursuing something that maybe you're passionate about later on and having the skills and the know-how to take that lane and take that opportunity when it comes. And, you might not, you never know when that's going to happen, but like, if you just keep working, I would just say you never know.
That when you do say, hey, I'm going to go try something, that the other men that you respect around you that say, yeah, I'll go, I'm going to help you with that. Right.
I'm in.
I think that's a big piece, right. Is that they look at you and go, yeah, you've you've done your job, you've played the part and you've done it well. So, how can I help? Right. And that's the thing I really notice is if you do a good job of giving everything you've got in whatever area it is, when it is time to go chase that dream, and we're both kind of doing the same. That's why we're here on the Ruckless side. For me, it's like it will be my dream job, right? Is really getting to have these conversations for one, and the other is if we have our company become what we think it will become, it's like we get to help people go out and experience what we're talking about here, right? And experience those woods. And how do we become one small part in a bigger piece of what they're doing? And I think that's exactly the vein you're going to live in as well, is how do we help other men and women go out and do what we're talking about here and find that version of themselves that they don't know exists yet?
Yeah. And I think, Ruckless is a great example. How many people in your network, respect you because of who you are and who you've built yourself to be, that are going to say, okay, Ruckless, I don't even know what that is. I'm in,
Yep.
and I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to learn more about it. Right. So, and that's huge. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what it's been for us, man. We just kind of said, I've got an idea, and how can you help me make it a reality? And it has been nothing but support. Which also then you have the pressure of, I got to get my ass to work as well now too, because we've got a lot of people that have invested time and money into us to get it where it's at. And so, dude, do me a favor though, with that ruck list in mind, what we really do is gear. I get distracted because I love talking about the heart of what we're doing, but we're about an hour and a half in. So let's do like a 10-minute gear breakdown on what Shawn takes into the woods. Maybe not a you could put a parachute on the list. I don't think everybody's going to be able to rock the parachute. I love it. But dude, I think something I'm always interested in is just kind of like, what, when you leave the truck, let's say, because everybody can relate to this, what's in your pack, bud?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to that question because it really depends on where I'm going when I leave the truck. And there's like in Montana, you could be in the desert or you could be in the high alpine. Depending on what species, what time of year, there's so many factors that go into it. But like generally, we'll just say like if I'm elk hunting, right, in September in Montana, and I'm hunting, fairly rough and broken terrain, and I'm planning to be out for 3 or 4 days living off my backpack. Yeah, so like I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but
as much time as you want to take.
What's the real important? Like, what is it?
So
what would happen to a kind of a lower level modern guy?
I would just say this. So like September in Montana is usually pretty hot. And there's always a chance for a storm to roll in, right? So you're going to be pretty light and pretty, light breathable with your clothing system. Some cool mornings, and then a really light rain gear in the bottom of my pack. So I run pretty much all KUIU for my clothing. I think they just like, I knew Jason before he died. Brennan as well, the guys that really developed those products and tested them in the toughest way possible. Just really respect the way that they went about developing that gear, and I think they've done a great job. And I don't have any affiliation with the company or anything like that. It's just I think they make a great product, and I've used it for a long time. And so I use their light, like their Tiburon, their lightest pants, some sort of synthetic top, again really light. And then I'll bring, usually that time of year, some sort of a mid layer or just like a synthetic insulation, something really light and warm. And then like I said, my rain gear in the bottom of the pack. Basically my kit in the pack is going to have, my knife, my tags, my headlamp, Allen wrench for my bow, which is kind of heavy, but like, if I need to fix something, I need to fix something. Usually a few spare broadheads in there as well. Probably some white wipes, some dude wipes or something like that.
Those are a must, dude.
I forgot wipes.
We all forgot wipes this year.
Yeah, you gotta have it. And I just use like a really light X-bed sleeping pad that just you blow up, air up pillow as well. So all that takes up minimal space in my pack and pretty much weighs nothing. On top of that,
you take a sleeping bag with you then too?
Depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If I have clear weather, if it just looks really good, I don't. I just bring my sleeping pad and I throw a down jacket in and just call it good. If it is going to be, that's intense, bro. I just don't. You don't need it. I've done it a bunch of times. You just don't. You don't need it. if it's going to be a little cooler or I anticipate any kind of weather, I always have a little tarp and 40 degree synthetic North Face bag that I run, just because it's super light. It gives me a little insulation, and yeah, it's good enough. If it's later in the season where it's going to be really cold, I run a 0 degree Western Mountaineering bag that's like extra long that I can actually fit in. So that's nice.
Western Mountaineering, they'll make you a custom bag, won't they?
Yeah, I actually got that one when I first moved to Montana. I went into the I can't remember. I think it's called Northern Lights, but it's like a backcountry ski shop, and they like had me lay down on the floor, like did the whole deal. I'm like, I need like a super robust bag, and ended up with that one. And I've had it for, gosh, that was 12 years ago or so, and it's been awesome. But yeah, usually just a tarp. If it's somewhere where there's going to be weather or it's like later in the season, I run a Kuiu Mountain Star 2-person tent. I run like the old original. Typically, I run the old original Stone Glacier pack, the Sky Archer 5900. My buddy Kurt Roscoe designed that one. That was like the first iteration of Stone Glacier. I think they've been bought and sold 3 or 4 different times since then. But not that they don't make a great product still. That's the one I use. I love that pack. I've used that one primarily for most everything. A couple Kuiu packs. I've tried some Kifaru packs. Everly Stock is one that I'm really interested in now too. They've made, I think, especially lately, Everly Stock has done a really good job on making some gear. And then when I go really fast and light, I just run a fanny pack. Everly Stock makes a really good fanny, the Bando bag. So sometimes I'll just throw like a 40-ounce water bladder, my tag kit with my knife and my headlamp, and a couple, like carb and sugar gummies, and I'll just rip with that fanny for the whole day. So yeah, that's basically it. And then boots. Run the Loa. Gosh, I can't remember what they're called now. I run Loa Fortux GTX, I think is what they're called, but they're super light and fast, synthetic. They're robust enough to where I'm not gonna roll my ankle a bunch, but they're like almost like a tennis shoe at the same time, and they're pretty strong in keeping the dew out of your socks and stuff like that. So really love those. Those have probably been I got 2 pairs of them this year. They've probably been my favorite boot in the last decade or so.
Nice. I think I probably run just on a light day go tennis shoes, but something over that ankle is nice because I mean, how many times you have a rock or a stick or something like that ankle bone against a rock on a mountainside is just killer.
Yeah, it is. And we deal with a lot of cactus out here too. So like, having some sort of a rand, around the base of your boot to protect, cactus punctures is always clutch.
Yeah.
So other than that, I think that pretty much covers the system right there. Basically like super light and fast, as light as I can get it. And then, with the spotter, if I'm elk hunting, I just run my 10x42s. I've usually used a spotter plenty in the summer through scouting and stuff like that. But if I need one, I'll throw the 65 millimeter Swarovski with an angled lens and just a compact, small to medium size tripod. And I'm not afraid to throw that in there as well if I need to.
Dude, do you do like a down on the bottom then for if you're sleeping outside? Do you have because that's what I think me and Tyrel both have that, just the Kuiu packable, just down pant and a down top, which for me I always live in my pack because it's just like I know if I get stuck in a really bad spot, I can sleep through about anything with that top and bottom and get away with it,
Yeah.
So what's your bottom? Is that just like a mid layer, or are you packing like a little down pant?
Just throw your down. Yeah. Have your rain gear and your down top and bottom. Actually last year I threw they make a really cool synthetic bottom. It's called the what's it called? The Kenai pant. So it's a synthetic insulation bottom. It's almost like they're super comfy. So throw those ones on and then a down. And again, they just weigh nothing. You throw them in the bottom with your rain gear and your game bags, and you take them out if you need them. Otherwise, they just stay down there. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's about as light as it gets.
Yeah.
There, man.
Yeah, no fluff for me, man. I just don't. It's, and I've done it for long enough now to where I know, like, man, that pack used to have a lot more stuff in it, and like every trip, it seems like more stuff comes out. It's just like, oh, didn't need that, didn't use that, and yeah.
What about the three? Like, I think something I was talking to the team about this morning was just a couple lists I'd asked them to give me was like your top 5 like miscellaneous things, like those weird little things that
wind check is number one.
Yeah,
like having your little powder wind check. Like for me, I use that so freaking much. I mean, I go through like 2 or 3 bottles of that every year. Like I use it all the time. I'm always checking the wind with that and the thermals. So that's number one. I don't know. I also always have like a little like sewing tape measure in there, just so I can see how long the beams are. I don't like always use it, but I definitely have before like walked up to one and been like, man, I want to know how long these beams are, or like, wow, that is a really long fourth. I wonder how long it is. So now I just throw that little tape in there, and if that question pops up in my brain, I just throw it on there, and I'm like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I love that.
The spare broadheads, man, I've had to tap into those before. And usually it's when like you shoot a freaking sage grouse, and
you can't,
you like hit it wrong. So then you shoot it again, or you shoot a coyote twice or something, and you have 2 broadheads that got stuck in a rock after they went through them, and like your arrow's good, but you need a new broadhead. I don't know. Sometimes you mess around out there a little bit, and all of a sudden you only got 2 good arrows, and you're like, this is not. So some extra broadheads is definitely good.
Yep. Yeah. What about for comfort, man? Like anything to put in the water, any good snacks that you kind of go like, I got to have this with me every time?
Yeah. So like daily, I run the Protect hydration. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like addicted to that. I use it every day, whether I'm hunting or not. I just always throw the like Protect lemonade hydration in my water, and I love it. To me, it seems like it makes a huge difference. Just being hydrated, because you're going to be dehydrated anyway, so you got to try to help yourself kind of kill that curve as much as you can. And then the Cliff blocks, the chewy blocks, they're gummies. They're by Cliff. Those are kind of my go-to for like my snack. Always have a bevy of an assortment of nicotine available. Gotta have that. Just absolutely nuke through those pouches all season. Extremely important to have that at all times. But yeah, so other than that, those are kind of my 3 little bugaboos right there.
Love it.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. Dude, that was awesome. Like you said, Shawn, we could talk about, we could go deep on just about any topic for another hour, but man, great post hunt review. Thank you for taking the time. Like I told you on the text, like you deserve every inch of that bull, and every bit of that adventure. I've never seen anybody work as hard as you have on that, and good job on creating that as your signature. Is like nobody will work as hard as I do, because now that's your deal now. So you got to keep going, right?
Standard's the standard.
Yep, I love it, man. So, dude, thanks a ton, Tyrel. You got anything else before we wrap up, man? I always do this. I look at the clock and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're at like 2 hours now, and I'm just sitting here like going, I could just keep going because I can't get enough. But
no, you said it, dude. Really appreciate you. It was really fun to just kind of follow along and see it this summer or this season. And good luck to you, man. Good luck to the kids. Sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Go Raptors.
There we go.
No, looking forward to seeing you guys at Winter Strong. And then gosh, if anything at all you need with Rucklist, absolutely hit me out, man. Always down to help you guys. So
create some Shawn Melland lists. I love that really lightweight approach. I think it's really scary for guys to think about. I think that's one big thing that, our kind of our motto is like everything you need, nothing you don't.
Yeah.
right? I think it's just as important to know what you don't need in that pack as it is to
100%.
know what you do need.
Yeah.
Within safety, I listened to John Barklow talking about that kind of that journey we go through of like, we don't take enough, and then out of response, we take too much for a couple of years. And then slowly, like you said, every year there's just less and less and less and less and less in that pack. Right. And even the pack itself kind of gets refined, right? I know I have a Kafaru Mod Deuce, which is, I mean, you could carry your whole house in that thing. And the
Yeah.
pack itself is heavy just to start with. And so, kind of paring those things back and going, okay, it doesn't feel bad when you're in your garage and you're picking it up, but mile 10 or day 5, and you go, what was I thinking? What was I thinking with all this shit in here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything pairs back, right? Your kill kit pairs back, your med kit goes, I don't need the comfort stuff. I need to be able to plug some holes. Tyrel, the medic, could tell us, but right, stop the bleeding, right? That's it,
Stop some bleeding.
Otherwise, it's just uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
And so you kind of get to that, like, it's just that same thing, like stuff to like stop bleeding, plug holes, and just enough comfort. But there's probably a balance there. You're used to it, but there's, for some guys, you go, hey, make yourself a little more comfortable so you stay out there that extra day or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, you got to know. I mean, you got to know who you are too, right? You got to understand yourself. If you're somebody who's, if you're going to be wet and cold or uncomfortable, and that's going to break you, then you better pack some more gear. For me, I always kind of default to like I really don't give a shit. Like I'm going to be out there, so that's pretty helpful mindset going into packing light when you really just don't. We just don't care.
There's no going back.
It's just irrelevant. So it's like, whatever.
Yep.
Maybe not the smartest approach, but.
Well, and where you're at. And so you always know just how far you are away from that truck seat too. Right.
True.
And so I think knowing the area you're going into allows you to pack for that specifically. Right. So that like, if I know I'm 2 or 3 miles at any given time, which equates to an hour and 15 minutes in worst case scenario away from the truck, it's like I can get really damn hungry knowing, all I got's an hour and 15. I'm back to all the food and drink I could want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it makes a difference when what you're getting yourself into. And I think that's why as you get older or you've got more experience, you can kind of be more minimalistic because you just know, like, I know where I'm going. I know what I need. And I know I can get myself out of here if I have to, worst case scenario.
Yeah, 100%. Like a true backcountry backpack hunt is, it's a different, it's a more serious pack list, right? If you can hunt out of a backpack, but still be within, less than a half day's hike of civilization or a vehicle. That's a different, that's a different pack than one that looks like you're going in somewhere that, you could potentially be stuck in, or you're not getting out in a day, or if something happens, you're going to be in a pickle. Like that's a different pack. And so, I don't want to sound like it's just like you don't pack enough. The pack I described was very much for a September Montana hunt where you're going to be able to get back to a truck or to somewhere you need to go if you need to. It's a totally different pack than if you're going somewhere real deep. But I mean, that's hopefully it's something that Ruckless can help a lot of people kind of kill that curve and know exactly what they need going into it.
Yeah, that's the hope. And if we 100%. Can, at the very least, we get to look into other people's toolboxes and see what they carry, and that's to me just magic. Being able to look and shop back and go, what's he got in there?
Mickey Mouse toothbrush. When I went to the NWT, I was reading stuff about guys cutting toothbrushes in half, and I just stole one of my kids were little. I just stole one of their toothbrushes.
Yep.
So whatever it takes.
Which is so nice. And like the tip Bert gave me years ago was just the dental flosser, right? So at any given time, my bino harness has 2 or 3 old dental flossers in the bottom of it, because it's just like, day 4, piece of jerky in your teeth will make you want to, like, you're starting to pull threads out of your pants looking for something to floss with. You know what I mean? So, yeah. That's another good little miscellaneous item that is key there. So, dude, all right, brother, man, we'll let you go. We appreciate the time and energy coming on the Ruckless podcast and just giving us some of the good stuff you've learned along the way. So, if we don't talk soon, we'll see you in a couple months, but I'm sure we will, bud. So we'll let you back to life and go kick some ass. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Great to catch up, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
man.
Appreciate you.
Ooh-la-lolly-oo.